All right, so this is a bit of a crazy frickin' story, man. It's kind of funny. I was helping a friend of mine work on his new farm a couple days ago, and a name came up, and it completely reminded me of this experience I had about 8 or 9 years ago. Yeah, probably about 9 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago. And it was way up the Pemberton Valley, and it was dead in the middle of winter, and it was absolutely frickin' freezing cold. And what I was doing up there is I was on my snowmobile, and I was going after this one particular pack of wolves to try to thin them out. The wolves were getting right out of hand, and I was up the road. And we're talking 5-6 feet of snow on the ground, right? I mean, it's dead in the middle of winter, coastal mountains. It was probably minus 15-ish, maybe even minus 20-ish. It was frickin' freezing. And I had got on my snowshoes and I left my sled, and I'd hiked into this big patch of what would a lot of people call ancient cedars. I mean, frickin' monster cedar trees. And, take note of this, a little side mention. This is kind of cool. I remember when I was back in there tracking these wolves, and I was just down there in those big cedars looking around, and I just noticed a perfect straight line against the trunk of this big 8-foot across cedar tree. Just something looked out of place, because there's nothing that's, straight. There's no straight angle pieces of anything in a natural setting like that. And I remember looking at the tree, I'm like, what the hell is that? And I walked up there, and here's an ancient salmon spear. Had the 2 pieces of old iron came up and hooked in like that, and there's the one straight one in the middle, and it was wired onto this cedar, straight hand-whittled cedar pole handle, barkless, and it was hanging on a branch on the side of that old cedar tree way back in there in the middle of nowhere. And the river was actually another, I don't know, maybe 100 and something yards in that direction. But that was a real wicked find, and I grabbed it and saved it and still have it. That was kind of cool. Just remembered that. So get this one. So I'm snowshoeing back out to my snowmobile, and another sled comes up, got the helmet on, and it looked like he was looking for me. And sure enough, it's this logger from town named Travis. Great guy. And he asked me if I'd come and help him, because he figured there was going to be a dead body farther up the valley. And I'm like, what? A dead body? And he went on to tell me that this dude figured like a homeless guy, not altogether, from Vancouver. I forget how the guy got there. He'd either been dropped off from somebody or took a cab, and the cab dropped him off at the end of the road where the logging road started, and just kicked him out and dropped him off. And it was puking snow that night, the night before. You're not going to believe this. And so they dropped this guy off. He had on a frickin' pair of running shoes, a pair of jeans, a zip-up cotton hoodie, and whatever he had on underneath that. Sweatshirt, t-shirt, whatever. Had a beard, big mucky beard. He looked to be a hard late 40s maybe when I seen him. And Travis had told me about this, and how he could see the guy's footprint still vaguely in the snow going up the valley. And this is the next day now. And somebody had raised the alarm. I think he hitchhiked up there, and then we're a small town. Word got around that this guy got hitchhiked up to the head of the valley, got dropped off. Words floating around, maybe he's committed suicide or something, who knows. But he definitely didn't come out. And Travis asked me if I would accompany him, jump on my sled and go see if we could go find this guy. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be frickin' brutal, right? I mean, this guy was out in easily minus 20-ish all night long, puking snow, no rain gear, no survival gear, no nothing, in cotton, in a pair of jeans and running shoes. It's like, this guy's going to be frickin' frozen stiff, laying there in the middle of the road dead, without a doubt. So it was a kind of odd feeling. So off we go. And we are ripping up the valley. You can see his footprints in the snow. You can see where his footprints, where they were snowed in, but you can see them where they're dented in. And it just kept going, and kept going, and kept going, and going, and going. And I'll measure the kilometers of how far this guy went once I get home, and I'll put the text up here. And you can see how many kilometers he went. And then he hung a left up another spur called South Creek. And he hung a left, and he starts going straight up the frickin' mountain on the old logging road. And there's old recreational sled trails, remnants of it on the road. So that was the only thing keeping him from post holing down up to his frickin' waist. That's how deep, it was deeper than that. By the time we get up there, now we're talking easy 6-7 feet of snow. And this guy's footprints are still going up. It was amazing. I was like, what the hell? How the hell did this guy even make it this far? Like, I would have been frickin' crying by now for my mommy. And this guy's just trudging up the mountain. And then you could see where the tracks were substantially fresher, and there is a little imprint in the middle of the road where the sucker just laid down in the middle of the road, obviously went to sleep. Wearing jeans, running shoes, sweatshirt, and a hoodie. And he's already frickin' hiked how many frickin' kilometers? This is absolutely amazing. And he laid there, and then you see where he got up, took a leak, and kept walking straight up the frickin' mountain. It was unbelievable. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of creepy, man. Like, what the hell's going on? You kidding me? And we went all the way up, wound our way all the frickin' way up to the top, and then it goes straight back. Another handful of mega kilometers. And then you start disappearing up into the timber. So we're sitting there. I'm on this side of this little bowl. We get up to the very top on this side of the bowl, and the thing went around like this, and then and we're basically almost to the end where we can go with the snowmobiles, and we could just see something in the trees there. You could just see him. It's like I think that's him. So Travis, he goes, okay, well, I'm going to go in there and find this guy. So I shut my sled off, and he goes in there, and I hear his sled shut off, and then I can hear voices. They're freaking talking. I'm like, what? And then Travis comes back out in his sled, and he's like, okay, I talked to him, and I talked him into coming out. I'm like, what? How the hell is this guy alive? And he's like, I don't know, man, but he's alive. And I had to talk him into coming out. And I'm like, well, he's probably delirious of freaking hypothermia or something. He's like, no, I'm going to go in there and throw him on my sled. And you know, it's funny, you know, in the middle of nowhere and you got something like this going down and some kind of a potential weird character in the middle of nowhere, and you're going to be on guard a little bit. So I told Travis, I go, look, here's the deal. I go, you're going to throw this guy in the back of your sled behind you. I don't know if this guy's mentally stable or not. I got a rifle on my back. You come out, you go ahead of me, and I'm going to keep one in the pipe just in case something creepy or foolish goes down. You don't know if this guy's going to pull a knife out and go loony on Travis while he's behind him holding onto his back or neck. You don't know. And we were a little spooked out, weirded out. So I said to Travis, here's the deal. If that guy pulls any kind of weird shit, just gun it, knock him off the sled, and I'll dummy him. Whatever, you know, just in case. You just got to be a little cautious. So this guy comes out, and sure enough, he was soaked. He's just looking at me like, matter of fact, hey man, how's it going? You know, I'm like, not bad. And we ran the sleds all the way back out, and we got to where the main road ended in the Parent Valley, and we went to the first residence on the right there to get this guy into a cabin and get him in front of a fire. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what are you even doing? And he's just like, he's talking like it's nothing. This guy's just talking to us like it's nothing. He's like, oh, I used to work out here back when I was like a teenager, and I just decided I wanted to go see the country again. Do you guys want to smoke a joint? What? I'm like, what? You serious? Yeah. I go, you do realize that this guy right here just saved your life. There's no frickin' way you're coming out of there alive. Like, I cannot believe you're still alive. Like, this is crazy. I just couldn't wrap my head around what I just witnessed. I could not believe that this man was still alive and speaking and functioning. It was absolutely unbelievable. You know, if any of you are familiar with the coastal mountains of British Columbia or even Alaska, and the snow load and the frickin' wet to the core conditions, like, you know, sometimes when I'm leaving my sled and I'm in my snowshoes and I go off and sweat it up for 15 minutes that way, it's all I can do to frickin' get back to my sled, want to go home whimpering and get the frickin' wet shit off and get the fire going. You know, and your toes and your hands freeze up, rock frickin' solid. And this frickin' lunatic went all the way up there with running shoes and jeans on all through the night and laid down on the ground on the frozen snow and slept all night and got up and kept on hiking like he's going to the park in the summertime. That was frickin' amazing and unbelievable. I've never seen anything or heard anything like that previous, and probably never ever will again, I hope. But there you go, that really happened. crazy. People are crazy.